Okay, so today we are working on our urban homes. Most of you have everything drawn from last time, and then today when you get it back, I want you to double check for details. Do you have doors, windows? Do you have maybe pots and plants on the porch or deck? Do you have strung lights? Windows, maybe you have some pots in the windows or draperies, little animals. Those are the fun details, I think, that makes this special. Remember, I gave you a small paper because I really want you to take your time on it. We're not in a race. We're going to go through 4 different shading techniques today on some practice paper. And some of you may actually get to start shading your buildings today, but if you don't get that far, that's fine. And you're gonna notice that they used all 4 techniques at least one time in here. And if you have a favorite technique or one you think works great for the siding or the roof or the trees, then you can use it multiple times, okay? So today, our I can statement is, today I will learn about value so that I could use hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and scumbling to add light and dark areas to my work to create the illusion of form. So value is the lightness and darkness of a color, and then form is something that looks more three-dimensional, even though this is on a flat piece of paper. So my hope today is you're going to be trying new shading techniques. They're new ideas, they're new methods to you, and I really want you just to try it. If you feel like you're failing, just keep practicing. It will come a little more natural. There's going to be some that just feel better to you, that you like better, and that's totally normal. So we're just kind of stepping outside of our box, some things and these methods that we may have not used before, okay? So you're going to get a little piece of paper here. You're going to get this value scale here. This is one I've already done. And then I still have these handouts from last time with the details. And then here are the different shading techniques we're going to do. So before you even get any of these, I want you to look at your paper. And obviously, I'm not finished with mine. But make sure you started off with a line going from the sides. We drew the roof, and then we drew our buildings, and the building should stop when they hit another building. If you have a building that's, let's say, really long, that's where that tree line will really help you out, okay? And you can see I have this one here. I've got doors, windows. Maybe I'm going to add a little line through my windows here to show where they open. I'll do that one on these. Maybe I have a little kid or a plant in the window here. Okay. Okay, I've got that. Maybe I have a blind or draperies, and then there's a little pole right in there. Maybe this one door has a line dividing it. It's a sliding door, or maybe it has you can open on one side. So I'm going to draw like the window on the center of it. It's up to you. Now I'm using my ruler here to draw these details. If you feel comfortable and you want to draw those small details, excuse me, with your pencil and just draw them, I'm fine with that, okay? You can have those lights strung to the buildings. Let's see, which one here? Kind of like here, maybe here. Then we have little light bulbs. Okay, I just feel like those are the details that really does make this special. And remember, it's a small piece of paper. So I would finish all of this before shading. For the sake of time, I'm just gonna push this off to the side and not worry about it yet, okay? So these are the techniques we're gonna be using: hatching, cross-hatching, scumbling, and stippling. So hatching is when you have lines going one direction. Cross-hatching, they're gonna go one direction then the other. Scumbling, I was brought up calling the scribbling method, but scumbling is technically the term they're using here, and then stippling are the dots, okay? So I would start off with this smaller sheet here, and this is gonna be your practice sheet. So if you wanna draw out a rectangle or square and do the different processes in there, you can, or you can just randomly do this, okay? So I'm gonna start with hatching. So with my pencil with hatching, I'm gonna start off with lines. And then the lines, when I get them closer together, that is going to give you the appearance of a shadow. So you don't necessarily have to have them coming all the way across on the paper, but they all are going one direction. Okay, so you can see now I'm just adding more lines right down here where I want it to be darker. And I can have some other lines if I feel like I need to. And this is a practice sheet, but if this is my final copy, then I would kind of tidy things up around the edge with my eraser. But that's not necessary here. So that's hatching. They're going one direction. Cross hatching is the same method, or very similar method, I should say. And that's when the lines are going one way and then crossing, hence the word cross hatching, over each other. And then you'll do the same thing, adding your lines, going different directions, and the more lines you add, the darker the appearance is going to be. So that is cross hatching. Okay, then we have scumbling, and that's more like the scribbling method, but it's not a scribble like where you don't know where your pencil is going to go. I have control exactly where I'm going. So I'm going to do the shadow, and that means I'm going to scumble over the area more times. In that area, if I want the shadow to be there, then I can kind of go back in there. And this is the method I like, especially for the trees. Okay, so same idea. You can see where it's light, medium, and darker just by the methods. And then the stippling, these are the dots. This one is probably one of my favorite methods to use. But it does take the longest. So that is where some people won't do as much as maybe they like just because of the time. But you're going to be using all 4 of these techniques on your paper at least once. So what I want you to notice is I'm not taking my pencil and doing this and making big noises. I'm just tapping. I'm keeping my pencil pretty close to the paper. That way I'm getting more marks and I'm not using up as much energy. And I'm just adding lots of dots. You're going to hear a little slight noise. You're not going to hear a big pounding noise. If you're pounding, that means you're doing this. That's not necessary. And then just like I did before, the more dots that I have, that means the closer they are, it's going to appear like there is a shadow in a darker shade. So I always have students every year that get to this and then they're like, "Ooh, I'm just gonna color in that area, shade it in, and then do dots over it." It's very obvious if you do that. So I would rather have some little white spaces in the dark area than to shade over it. Okay, so it's just a matter of adding more and more dots to an area to get more of a shadow. So this is value. Value scales are going from light to medium to medium dark to dark, showing that scale, and that's going to help give you a nice form, which will show 3-dimensional quality. Okay, so then once you have this, you're going to get this little handout. I'm going to write Mrs. K, because this is going to be turned in with your final project. So you're going to hold on to this. Okay, I would hold on to both of these sheets just throughout the process, just to remind you what different scale values and techniques you can use. So in this one, it says lightest values, medium values, and darkest. So on this value scale, I did the scumbling technique where I scribbled right in here, and then I had some more lines, and I kept getting more lines until I got to my darkest lines right in here. Okay, so you can definitely see this value. Okay, maybe in this one, I'm going to use hatching. So I can have my lines there, and see I'm getting a little bit closer there, even closer. And one thing I will tell you with this is after I get to the very, very end, I will go back and kind of look at it and see, okay, this little one needs a little bit more. And then darken things up as I go. So I usually start off with what I'm showing you right now, just working all the way to the end. And like I said, I chose hatching. The stippling, that obviously takes a lot longer. I probably wouldn't do this on here because this is, yes, I'm going to be looking at it when I grade, but I'm not doing my final grade on this, so I wouldn't want to take a whole class period working on this, okay? So that was about the only one that takes the longest, so I would avoid that one. But if you do it, then just do dot, 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 and then just really start off light, okay? So right there, and then the darkest. So one little helpful hint I will tell you is after you get to the end, like mine, sometimes people will take a little step back from their work and look at it to see if they do see the value scale. Others will kind of squint and look at it and say, okay, I think I need some more lines in here. And then in turn, more lines there, more lines here. And then obviously the most lines in there. So you can squint, take a step back, or lean back in your seat. That's fine. As long as I see a progression, that's all that matters to me. So once you finish your value scale going from lightest to darkest, you can keep these out to refer to them, but you're going to keep them in your folder, okay? Then when you get to this one, if you've finished all the details, then you can go in and add, let's see, the scribbling technique in here. Maybe I'm going to do the hatching right there, okay? And then sometimes I'll take my pencil, remember like I showed you in that one, if I kind of go over the edge and fix it so that it looks clean where I want like the side of the building to be white. So not expecting you to get to the different shading techniques here, but if you do, great, okay? And that's what we'll be focused on today.